Fox News host Jesse Watters got some bad news a few months ago. It seems that his wife has decided to divorce him.
For years, it sat there in the background of Jesse Watters' rise at Fox News, never fully erased, never fully addressed, just quietly folded into the story of how a production assistant from Philadelphia became a primetime fixture in American cable news. But now, Jesse Watters has finally broken his silence on the affair that changed everything. This is one story you just can't skip. Let's start from the very beginning. Finding success and love at Fox News. In the spring of 2002, a 23-year-old history graduate from Trinity College in Hartford, Connecticut, walked into Fox News as a production assistant. Jesse Watters was nowhere near the bright lights of television fame. His job was largely invisible. He later recalled working in the network's basement newsroom, labeling tapes and handling routine production tasks. At the time, Fox News itself was still a relatively young network, having launched only 6 years earlier in 1996. Few people could have predicted that the young employee organizing footage behind the scenes would eventually inherit one of the most coveted time slots in cable news. The breakthrough came through an unusual route. Most television personalities spend years moving through local news markets before reaching a national audience. Watters never followed that traditional path. Instead, he caught the attention of the producers of The O'Reilly Factor, the network's flagship program hosted by Bill O'Reilly. At its peak, O'Reilly's show attracted millions of viewers nightly and dominated cable news ratings. Watters began appearing in short field segments, interviewing ordinary Americans on streets, college campuses, and public events. The format was simple but effective. Armed with a microphone and a mischievous grin, he asked politically charged questions designed to provoke reactions. Some viewers found the segments hilarious. Critics accused them of selectively editing participants to make them look uninformed. Either way, audiences remembered the name Jesse Watters. As the years passed, those brief appearances became a recognizable feature of Fox News programming. Watters developed a distinctive style that blended political commentary with entertainment. By the early 2010s, his Man on the Street segments had become popular enough to justify a larger platform. In 2015, Fox News launched Watters' World as a standalone program. The move represented a significant milestone. Watters was no longer merely a contributor supporting someone else's show. He was becoming a brand of his own. First marriage to Noelle Inguaggiato. In the mid-2000s, Fox News was rapidly expanding its influence across the political landscape, and Watters was still climbing the ladder inside the network. Programs hosted by Bill O'Reilly, Sean Hannity, and others were dominating cable ratings. Jesse Watters, meanwhile, was evolving as well. While much of the audience knew him only as a correspondent roaming city streets with a microphone, his personal life was becoming increasingly serious behind the scenes. Years before he became a primetime star, Watters met Noelle Inguaggiato, a Fox employee working in advertising and promotions. Unlike the high-profile hosts and commentators who appeared on television every night, Noelle largely remained behind the scenes. Their relationship developed within the same corporate ecosystem that had launched Watters' career. In 2009, the couple married. The wedding took place at a moment when Watters' television profile was rising, but still far from the prominence he would later achieve. He was not yet a prime-time host. He did not have his own nationally recognized brand. Instead, he was a promising Fox News employee, working his way toward bigger opportunities. For many observers, the marriage appeared to reflect stability during a period of professional transition. Both husband and wife understood the demanding culture of cable news because both worked within the same organization. Their relationship also benefited from something uncommon in media marriages. Noelle understood the unpredictable hours, breaking news disruptions, and constant travel requirements that often accompany television careers. Cable news is notorious for consuming personal time. Hosts and producers frequently work late into the evening, particularly during election cycles and major national events. Sharing that professional context may have helped the couple navigate the challenges that come with life inside a 24-hour news operation. By 2011, the couple reached another major milestone. They welcomed twin daughters, dramatically changing the rhythm of their household. At that point, Waters was spending more time on air and traveling for segments, while Noel continued maintaining a relatively private role away from the cameras. Publicly, the family projected an image of success and normalcy. During these years, Waters' career continued to accelerate. His man-on-the-street interviews became a regular feature on The O'Reilly Factor, one of the most watched programs in cable news. Millions of viewers saw him every week. Yet, despite his growing visibility, very little was publicly known about his family life. Unlike some television personalities who frequently discuss spouses and children in interviews, Waters generally kept details about his home life limited. Noel remained largely unknown to the broader audience watching her husband's rise. The contrast between their public profiles was striking. Jesse Waters was becoming a recognizable political commentator. Noel Ingwagiato Waters remained almost entirely behind the scenes. She was not building a television brand. She was not appearing on panels or giving political commentary. In many ways, their marriage resembled a traditional media arrangement in which one spouse occupied the spotlight while the other maintained privacy. That privacy would later become one of the defining features of how the story unfolded. By the middle of the 2010s, Jesse Waters was no longer merely a contributor. In 2015, Fox News launched Waters' World as a standalone program. The show gave him his own platform and significantly expanded his influence within conservative media. The transition marked a major career breakthrough. He was no longer borrowing airtime from Bill O'Reilly's program. He was establishing an independent identity within the network. Success brought higher visibility, more responsibilities, and increased interaction with production teams and staff members. Throughout this period, there were few public signs that anything was wrong in the marriage. Unlike many celebrity couples whose difficulties become tabloid headlines long before separation, the Waters family remained largely absent from gossip coverage. No explosive interviews emerged, no public accusations surfaced, no social media feuds hinted at private turmoil. To outside observers, the marriage appeared intact. Part of that perception stemmed from how carefully Noel protected her privacy. Even as her husband's public profile grew dramatically, she avoided becoming a media personality herself. There were no tell-all interviews, reality television appearances, or efforts to capitalize on her connection to a rising Fox star. By 2016 and 2017, Waters' career was entering another phase. He had become a regular co-host on The Five, one of Fox News' most successful programs. The show's ratings routinely ranked among the strongest in cable news. His visibility expanded beyond field interviews and weekend programming. At the same time, however, Fox News itself was experiencing one of the most turbulent periods in its history. High-profile departures involving senior executives and major hosts placed workplace culture under intense scrutiny. Internal relationships and power dynamics suddenly attracted greater attention than they had in previous years. It was during this environment that the stability surrounding Waters' personal life began to unravel. This brings us to the next part of the story: the affair that changed everything. For years, Jesse Waters seemed to be living two successful lives at once. Professionally, he was becoming one of Fox News' fastest rising stars. Personally, he had spent nearly a decade married to Noel Ingwagiato Waters, a fellow Fox employee with whom he shared twin daughters, and a life largely hidden from public view. By 2017, however, the carefully separated worlds of career and family were about to collide. The story actually surfaced within the walls of Fox News itself. At the center of the controversy was Emma DiGiovine, a young associate producer who worked on Waters' World. DiGiovine had joined Fox News after graduating from Fairfield University in Connecticut. Before entering television production, she had experience as a model and fitness enthusiast. By the time she began working with Waters, she was in her mid-20s, while Waters was approaching 40. The age gap itself was not the issue attracting attention. What mattered inside Fox was the professional relationship between a prominent on-air host and a member of his show's production staff. At that point, Waters was no longer merely a correspondent. His influence within Fox News had grown substantially. Waters' World had become a successful weekend program. He was also appearing regularly on The Five, one of the highest-rated shows in cable news. His profile inside the network carried considerably more weight than that of a producer working behind the scenes. In modern corporate environments, relationships between senior personalities and subordinate staff members often trigger concerns about power dynamics, favoritism, and conflicts of interest. Those concerns would soon move from theoretical to very real. Sometime during 2017, the relationship between Waters and DiGiovanni became serious enough that it could no longer remain entirely private. Rumors had begun circulating internally. Whether management learned through direct observation, workplace gossip, or proactive disclosure remains unclear. Waters informed Fox News Human Resources about the relationship. That decision would become one of the most important moments in the entire controversy, because it shifted the matter from a personal secret into an official corporate issue. The timing could hardly have been more sensitive. By 2017, Fox News was managing the aftershocks of a credibility crisis. The departures of Roger Ailes in July 2016 and Bill O'Reilly in April 2017 had already been dissected across nearly every major U.S. media outlet, from the New York Times to the Washington Post. Ailes' resignation came after former Fox and Friends co-host Gretchen Carlson filed a lawsuit alleging harassment, a case that was later settled for $20 million, according to multiple press reports at the time. The lawsuit opened the floodgates for additional accounts from other women, and Fox's parent company, 21st Century Fox, commissioned an internal review led by outside counsel. In the aftermath, the company publicly emphasized structural reform. Then-Chairman Rupert Murdoch was quoted in internal communications reported by media outlets describing a zero-tolerance expectation going forward. The situation escalated again in 2017 when the New York Times published a report revealing that Bill O'Reilly and Fox News had settled multiple harassment-related claims over the years, some worth millions of dollars. O'Reilly, who hosted The O'Reilly Factor, the highest-rated show in cable news for over 16 years, was ultimately removed from the network in April 2017. In a statement at the time, 21st Century Fox said it had ended its association with Bill O'Reilly after a thorough review of the allegations. O'Reilly denied wrongdoing and later described the coverage as politically motivated, but the corporate decision stood. The significance of those two exits went far beyond individual careers. Inside Fox News, they created what media analysts often described as a compliance reset era. Editorial talent, producers, and executives were now operating under heightened sensitivity to anything that could be interpreted as workplace misconduct, favoritism, or abuse of power. Even relationships that would previously have been handled informally were increasingly routed through human resources, legal review, and executive oversight. That shift was widely reflected in contemporary media commentary. CNN media reporter Brian Stelter, writing at the time, described Fox as being in a post-Ailes, post-O'Reilly transformation phase, noting that the network was trying to prove it can police itself. Similarly, The Washington Post and Politico both characterized Fox's internal environment as unusually cautious, with executives under pressure to show advertisers and the public that the culture had changed in measurable ways. It is within that environment that Jesse Waters' situation emerged. Waters was not an executive or network founder, but by 2017, he had become a high-visibility on-air personality. His segments on The O'Reilly Factor had evolved into Waters' World, and he was a regular presence on The Five, which consistently ranked among the top-rated cable news programs in its time slot. That level of prominence mattered because Fox's internal policies did not treat all employees equally in practical effect. Relationships involving on-air talent carried more reputational risk than those involving lower visibility staff. When reports surfaced that Waters had been involved in a relationship with Emma DiGiovanni, an associate producer working on his show, the issue was treated as a workplace compliance matter. According to multiple reports, Waters disclosed the relationship to Fox News Human Resources in 2017, triggering an internal review. The key concern was structural. DiGiovanni was part of the production team connected to his program, creating what corporate HR departments typically classify as a potential conflict of interest and power dynamic issue. Rather than public punishment or termination, the response was administrative. DiGiovanni was reassigned from Waters World to another Fox program, The Ingraham Angle, hosted by Laura Ingraham. A Fox News spokesperson, as quoted in multiple media reports at the time, characterized the matter as a consensual relationship and confirmed that management had met with both parties before making the staffing change. The language was notably procedural. The broader media environment ensured the story did not remain contained within internal HR channels. Because Fox News was already under intense scrutiny following the Ailes and O'Reilly exits, any internal relationship involving senior talent was likely to be interpreted through that larger narrative. Media coverage often emphasized that the network was still attempting to clean up its workplace culture. What made the situation more complex was the contrast between internal policy enforcement and external perception. From a corporate standpoint, Fox's response aligned with standard HR practice: disclose, evaluate, and remove reporting conflicts. From a media narrative standpoint, however, the story was absorbed into a much larger ongoing discussion about Fox News' workplace culture. Analysts and commentators often placed it alongside earlier scandals, even though the underlying facts were materially different from harassment cases involving executives like Ailes or O'Reilly. By the time the situation became publicly understood, Waters' personal life was already becoming part of the story. While Fox was handling the workplace implications, the personal consequences were beginning to unfold. At home, Jesse Waters was still married to Noelle Waters. The couple had been together for years and had built a family that included twin daughters born in 2011. The revelation of the relationship with DiGiovanni placed enormous strain on that marriage. Although the exact conversations and emotional dynamics remain private, major news outlets later reported that Noelle Waters moved toward ending the relationship after learning about the affair and the internal disclosure. The situation quickly evolved from an internal corporate matter into a public story. News organizations covering media and television began piecing together the timeline. Reports highlighted the fact that DiGiovanni had worked on Waters' show. Others focused on the broader context of Fox News' recent controversies. What might have been viewed as a straightforward office romance at another company became something much larger because it involved one of the most recognizable conservative television personalities in America. In 2018, Noelle Waters formally filed for divorce.
Jesse Waters, who is getting divorced from his wife because of an affair. Waters' wife, Noelle Waters, filed for divorce in October.
While the legal process largely remained under standard family court confidentiality norms, what made the filing widely reported was not courtroom detail, but timing. When the relationship first became internal knowledge in 2017, Fox News confirmed to multiple outlets that management had met with both employees and characterized the relationship as consensual. The company also stated that DiGiovanni would be transferred from Waters World to another program, The Ingraham Angle, as part of its internal compliance process. That reassignment was the only publicly acknowledged organizational action tied directly to the matter. By the time the divorce filing became public in 2018, most media coverage was built from a combination of three verified elements: the internal HR disclosure, the reassignment of DiGiovanni, and Waters' continuing on-air presence across Fox News programming. Outlets such as People, Page 6, and The New York Post, which frequently cover Fox personalities, reported on the divorce in tandem with earlier workplace developments, but there were no court documents made public alleging misconduct beyond the marital breakdown itself. No civil lawsuit was filed by either spouse against the other in connection with the affair, and no HR findings against Waters were publicly released. One of the most notable features of the divorce phase was the absence of detailed public testimony from either party. Noelle Waters did not give interviews to major broadcast networks or publish statements outlining her perspective on the breakdown of the marriage. There were no televised interviews, magazine exclusives, or memoir excerpts that expanded on the private circumstances. In media terms, this is significant because high-profile divorces involving television personalities often generate extensive public commentary from at least one party. In this case, That did not happen. Emma DiGiovine similarly did not engage in public explanation of the relationship during the divorce proceedings. Despite becoming central to media coverage, she did not provide detailed interviews to major outlets about how the relationship began or how it evolved inside Fox News. Many of the most emotionally charged aspects of the story thus remained outside the verified record and were instead filled in by rumors and commentary. By 2018 and into 2019, Waters and DiGiovine began appearing together publicly, including social media posts and event appearances that confirmed the relationship had continued beyond internal HR handling. The divorce itself moved through standard legal channels and was finalized in March 2019. Court records did not include publicly reported contested findings or litigated allegations beyond the dissolution of marriage. The outcome marked the legal end of a union that had begun in 2009 and produced twin daughters in 2011. As the divorce concluded in March 2019, the story shifted again. Marriage to Emma DiGiovine. By the spring of 2019, one chapter of Jesse Waters' life had officially ended. After nearly a decade of marriage, his divorce from Noelle Waters was finalized in March of that year. His relationship with DiGiovine was no longer hidden behind corporate transfers, media rumors, or anonymous sourcing. It had become a public reality.
Nobody goes into any marriage planning ahead for divorce. Of course not, that's not the goal. Was there ever a time where you thought, okay, divorce is tough?
I'm so in love with Emma, there was no hesitation.
The secrecy that had once surrounded the relationship was gone. The question was no longer whether the couple was together. The question was how serious the relationship had become and whether it would survive the scrutiny that accompanied its controversial beginnings. The answer arrived surprisingly quickly. In August 2019, only months after his divorce was finalized, Waters announced his engagement to Emma DiGiovine. The proposal took place while the relationship was still attracting commentary from media observers who noted the compressed timeline connecting his first marriage, the affair revelations, and the new engagement. To supporters, the engagement suggested the relationship was genuine and enduring rather than a temporary workplace romance. To critics, it reinforced questions about the overlap between the end of one marriage and the beginning of another. The woman at the center of the story was very different from the stereotypical political spouse. Emma DiGiovine had grown up in New Jersey and graduated from Fairfield University in Connecticut with a degree in journalism. Before joining Fox News, she had participated in modeling work and developed a strong interest in fitness and health. Unlike many individuals who become connected to high-profile television personalities, she already possessed media experience and professional ambitions of her own. Her career path eventually led her into television production, where she joined Fox News and became involved with Waters' World. The public first became aware of DiGiovine through the controversy, but after the engagement, she began establishing a more independent public identity. Social media accounts that once attracted attention primarily because of her connection to Waters increasingly focused on fitness, family life, nutrition, and lifestyle content. This gradual shift would become an important part of how the couple managed public perception. Rather than continuously revisiting the controversy that brought them together, they redirected attention toward building a new image. Only 4 months after the engagement, another milestone arrived. In December 2019, Jesse Waters and Emma DiGiovine married. The wedding took place less than a year after the finalization of his divorce and roughly 2 years after the relationship had first become a matter of public discussion. The speed of the transition was impossible to ignore. In the span of a relatively short period, Waters had moved from the collapse of a long-term marriage to a new engagement and then a new marriage. Yet while media observers continued debating the chronology, Waters' professional life showed little sign of disruption. Unlike many television personalities whose careers suffer lasting damage from personal controversies, Waters continued ascending within Fox News. His role on The Five remained secure. Waters' World continued airing. Network executives showed no indication that the controversy would prevent further advancement. In fact, some of the most significant promotions of his career were still ahead. In April 2021, the couple welcomed their first child together, a son named Jesse Bailey Waters Jr. The birth marked a major turning point in the public narrative. Stories that had once focused on workplace relationships and divorce proceedings increasingly focused on fatherhood, family milestones, and life beyond controversy. The arrival of their son coincided with another transformative period in Waters' professional career. In January 2022, Fox News launched Jesse Waters Primetime, giving him a dedicated weekday program. For someone who had started as a production assistant in 2002, the achievement represented the culmination of 2 decades of work. The timing was striking. While his personal life was stabilizing through marriage and fatherhood, his professional life was reaching heights that had once seemed unimaginable. Then, in April 2023, the couple welcomed a daughter, Georgina Post Waters. With her arrival, Waters became a father of 4 children in total, twin daughters from his first marriage and 2 younger children with Digiovine. Both Waters and Digiovine appeared committed to controlling the narrative through consistency rather than confrontation. Neither spent years revisiting the controversy in interviews. There were no lengthy documentaries explaining every detail of how the relationship began. There were no best-selling memoirs dedicated to settling old scores. Instead, the couple focused on presenting a stable family life. The contrast between the beginning of their relationship and its current public presentation is striking. In 2017 and 2018, discussions about Digiovine largely revolved around workplace ethics, corporate policy, and the collapse of Waters' first marriage. By the mid-2020s, discussions more commonly revolved around parenting, fitness, lifestyle content, and family activities. The shift did not erase the controversy, but it changed its significance. That transformation was aided by the absence of new controversy. Many public relationships born under difficult circumstances remain under constant scrutiny because new disputes continue emerging. In this case, the opposite occurred. The years following the marriage produced relatively little public drama. The couple continued appearing together at events, sharing family milestones, and building a household that appeared increasingly settled. The lack of fresh scandal allowed public attention to move elsewhere. Meanwhile, Waters' influence inside Fox News continued to expand. Following the departure of Tucker Carlson in 2023, Waters inherited the network's coveted 8 p.m. Eastern Time slot, one of the most powerful positions in cable news. The promotion made one thing absolutely clear. Whatever damage the affair controversy may have caused to his reputation, it had not prevented him from becoming one of the network's most important personalities. But people talk, and there is a good reason too. Public perception, media framing, and workplace ethics debate. The Jesse Waters affair story occupies a strange place in modern media history because it was simultaneously a major scandal and, in another sense, not much of a scandal at all. There were no courtroom bombshells, no allegations that resulted in a public lawsuit against Waters himself. Yet for months, and in some circles, years, the story continued generating headlines, commentary, and debate. The reason lies in the collision of 3 powerful forces: workplace relationships, marital infidelity, and the unique culture surrounding Fox News. Separately, each issue might have produced a few days of attention. Combined, they created a controversy that became larger than the facts alone. Emma Digiovine was an associate producer working on Waters' World. She was not another host, executive, or network celebrity. She was part of the production apparatus. When reports emerged that she and Waters were involved romantically, observers immediately focused on the professional hierarchy between them. Modern corporations spend enormous amounts of time and money addressing potential conflicts of interest because relationships involving supervisors and subordinates can create concerns about favoritism, promotions, assignments, and workplace fairness. Importantly, Fox News never publicly alleged that the relationship was non-consensual. In fact, the network's own statement described it as consensual. That distinction is critical. Much of the media conversation was not about coercion or criminality. Instead, it focused on whether a prominent television host should be involved with someone working on his show. Even supporters of Waters often acknowledged that the arrangement created an uncomfortable appearance problem. In corporate America, appearances can sometimes matter almost as much as actual misconduct. Then there was the marriage. At the time the relationship became public, Waters was still married to Noelle Waters, his wife since 2009 and the mother of his twin daughters. This transformed what might have remained a workplace policy discussion into something far more emotionally charged. Affairs occupy a unique place in public culture. They are legal. They happen frequently. Yet, they continue to generate intense reactions because they touch on trust, loyalty, family, and personal morality. Once reports connected the relationship with the breakdown of Waters' marriage, the story became far more compelling to the public than a simple HR matter ever could have been. Media framing played a central role in shaping the Jesse Waters-Emma DiGiovanni controversy because journalists were working with a relatively narrow set of confirmed facts. Reporting consistently established three core points. Waters had a relationship with DiGiovanni, Fox News reassigned her to another program within the network, and Waters' wife, Noelle Waters, later filed for divorce. Beyond that, the private details of the relationships remained largely outside the public record, leaving media outlets to build narratives around interpretation rather than new disclosures. One dominant theme in coverage was hypocrisy. Because Fox News is strongly associated with conservative commentary on family values and personal responsibility, critics argued that a prominent on-air personality becoming involved in an extramarital relationship created a perceived contradiction between the network's messaging and internal conduct. Importantly, the argument did not require Waters himself to have publicly preached about marriage. Instead, it drew on Fox's broader ideological brand. This made the story resonate as symbolic, rather than purely personal. Supporters of Waters and Fox News countered that framing, arguing that private relationships should not be treated as public indictments of professional capability. They also pointed out that infidelity is not unique to any political or professional group. Timing further intensified attention. The story emerged in the aftermath of high-profile exits of Roger Ailes in 2016 and Bill O'Reilly in 2017, when Fox News was under intense scrutiny. Over time, perceptions were also influenced by career outcomes. Unlike scandals that derail careers, this one did not interrupt Waters' trajectory. Instead, he later received a primetime show and ultimately a major 8 p.m. Fox News slot after Tucker Carlson's exit. That progression deepened the divide in public interpretation. Critics saw institutional tolerance of personal controversy, while supporters saw audience approval of his on-air performance. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Did you like this video? If you did, please consider liking, dropping a comment, and hitting the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on our new uploads. Also, don't miss this video you see on your screen right now. It's truly unbelievable.